Every single day, our lives are getting more and more tangled up with machines. It's this new partnership, right? And it promises all this incredible progress, but it also brings up some really big questions. So what we're going to tackle here is, what does this new reality of humans and machines living together actually look like?
This image just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? It's kind of like that famous Michelangelo painting, The Creation of Adam, but for our digital world. But what is this connection, really? Are they collaborators, competitors, or is one of them about to just let go? This is the fundamental tension we are all trying to figure out.
Yeah, and that leads us perfectly to this quote from the AI researcher Dr. Kate Crawford. It's so important to remember this: behind every single algorithm, there are human beings making choices, and it's all built on human data. This technology, it's basically just a mirror reflecting us. So the question isn't just about what the machines can do, it's about what we're teaching them to be.
Okay, so before we dive into the deep end, we've got to make sure we're all speaking the same language. You hear these words thrown around all the time, right? AI, machine learning, automation, but they're not the same thing. Not at all. Let's do a quick breakdown. All right, first up, AI, or artificial intelligence. Think of this as the huge overarching goal. It's the big dream, right? The whole idea of creating machines that can think, learn, and solve problems just like we can. It's the ultimate destination for this entire field.
So if AI is the big goal, machine learning, or ML, is kind of the engine that's getting us there. This is how it works. Instead of a programmer giving the computer a bunch of rigid rules, they just feed it a mind-boggling amount of data. And here's the magic trick. It literally teaches itself to see the patterns. It figures out what a cat looks like all on its own.
And that brings us to automation. This is the doing part. It's the action. A robot arm in a factory doing the exact same weld 1,000 times a day. That's traditional automation. But when you give that arm AI and ML, well, now it can adapt. It gets smart. The key takeaway is simple. AI is the brain, automation is the muscle.
Now, I know it feels like this all just exploded out of nowhere, right? But this has been simmering for a long, long time. It started way back in 1950 with Alan Turing just asking the question, can machines think? Then you had these huge symbolic moments like IBM's Deep Blue beating the world chess champion in '97. But the real game changer was 2012 with a breakthrough called deep learning. That's when things went into overdrive. And just a decade after that, boom, tools like ChatGPT put all that power right into our hands. So all of this crazy fast progress leads to the one question that's probably on your mind. What about our jobs? Are these machines going to be our partners, or are they here to replace us? It really feels like we're watching two totally different futures unfold at the exact same time.
So which is it? Is AI going to be our sidekick, making us better, faster, and smarter at what we already do? Or is it a tool that will just automate us right out of a job, making us, well, obsolete?
Okay, on one side, you've got augmentation. And a perfect example is a radiologist who uses AI to scan thousands of medical images in just seconds. The AI flags things a human might miss. The doctor's expertise isn't replaced, it's supercharged. And on the other side, you have replacement. Think of self-checkout machines at the grocery store. The routine job of the cashier gets completely automated, and that role, it just disappears.
And look, this isn't some sci-fi movie. This is happening right now. In banking, an AI might flag a transaction as fraud, but it's a human expert who makes the final decision. In travel, a chatbot can handle a simple booking, but if things get messy, you're handed off to a person. But then you get to that Amazon example, and whoa, this is a huge cautionary tale. They tried to build an AI to screen resumes and had to shut it down because it taught itself to be biased against women. It's proof that having a human in the loop is absolutely essential.
And that Amazon screw-up, it points to something way sneakier, and honestly, maybe even more dangerous than just losing jobs. What happens when the so-called ghost in the machine isn't some super smart computer, but it's actually just our own worst instincts, our own flaws, copied and scaled up 1,000,000 times over?
This is something called algorithmic bias. It's what happens when an AI's results are systematically unfair. And you gotta get this. The computer isn't being racist or sexist on purpose. It doesn't have feelings. It's just a pattern-matching machine. And if the data we feed it is full of human bias, it will just learn and amplify those biased patterns.
It all comes down to a super simple but really brutal rule in the world of computing: garbage in, garbage out. If you train an AI on a history of biased hiring decisions, it won't see that as a problem to be fixed. It sees that bias in the data and thinks, oh, that's the pattern I'm supposed to copy.
2 times. What in the world does that mean?
Well, that's how much more likely an AI tool used in some US courts was to get things wrong for black defendants. An investigation found that this algorithm called Compass falsely flagged black defendants as being high risk for committing future crimes at almost double the rate of white defendants. It wasn't a glitch. It was the system learning from our flawed past, and that has absolutely devastating consequences for real people. We're talking about their freedom.
Okay, so wow, we have job loss on one hand and baked-in bias on the other. Where do we even begin to go from here? Well, maybe the goal right now isn't about having all the answers. Maybe it's about learning to ask the right questions. A good place to start is with a few classic ethical frameworks. Think of them like a toolkit for thinking this through. First, does this AI actually help more people than it hurts? Second, does it respect basic human rights, like our privacy? And third, does it operate in a way we'd all agree is fair and transparent? These questions push us past just asking, does it work, and force us to ask, is it right?
And all of this kind of points to one of the biggest and maybe scariest parts of AI, something called the black box problem. A lot of these systems are now so incredibly complex that even the people who made them can't explain exactly how they reached a specific decision. So if an AI rejects your loan application and nobody can tell you why, how can you possibly trust that it's fair?
So let me just break down what's happening. On one side, you put in the data, your resume, your credit score, whatever. Then it goes into that middle section, the black box, where it's churned through a maze of calculations that nobody really understands. And then out the other side pops a decision, loan denied. See that part in the middle, the black box? That's the mystery. That's the problem. How can we check for bias if we can't see the logic? How can anyone possibly appeal a decision? So let's end with a real-world scenario that ties all of this together. An AI system is used to watch students during an online test. It's programmed to flag abnormal eye movements as potential cheating. So, is this a brilliant tool that ensures a level playing field for everyone? Or is it a massive invasion of privacy, a black box system that could ruin an innocent student's life with no way for them to fight back? That's the kind of tough question we all have to start asking, and asking loudly as we build this future together.